Thank you, Martha. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome. We have the ever so talented Martha York, who led us in Prelude this morning. Thank you for being here. And back in our midst is the talented Robin Hackett as our musical inspiration today. She's been in Texas for several months with your mother, right? So we welcome you back. We have our technicians extraordinaire, Elle and Ken are working in the sound booth, making this all happen, and rest assured, if anything tweaks, they're working hard to correct it. I am Trish Morris, the Associate Minister here, welcoming you all here to this service this morning virtually. David Howard is in the building. He's monitoring our chat, Facebook, and YouTube. So welcome. We're glad that you are with us this morning. We recognize that there are many of you who have been in our building and are eager to return. We're eager to make that happen and working on that, hopefully for Easter. Stay tuned for that. We also recognize the wonderful opportunity that we've had to meet some of you virtually. Well, we haven't met you yet, and we'd like to, but we realize that people have found us, not even in the state of Colorado, that are listening to our service. And so we just purposely take time to welcome you. And if you are in Denver, we certainly look forward to the day that we can physically welcome you into our space. I want to tell you ways that you can connect with us. If you go to our website, unitydenver.org, on the very bottom right-hand corner, tab for you to select sign up for our newsletter. You can do that, and we will send you our weekly newsletter on Fridays. And also, you can follow our YouTube channel. You can like us on Facebook. I'm dropping out. Well, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me at 10 a.m. on a Sunday. Thank you. I'm sorry I was dropping out. Hopefully, I can repeat where I was, which was to say you can follow our Facebook page. You can like us on or follow our Facebook. Follow us on Facebook, which is probably where you are right now. If not, you're on YouTube. You can follow our YouTube channel to stay up with us. And I also am so excited, and I look forward to the day when you are here in person so we can show you on your phone or my phone. Everything okay, fellas? Okay, we got to go. Our new app. You remember back in the day, they'd say, there's an app for that. And I'd say, oh, no, I'm not touching that. That's a setup. How much does that cost? Well, everybody has an app now, right? You sit in the doctor's office and you're on your banking app. Well, Unity of Denver now has our own app, which is where you can go to make a donation. You can sign up for upcoming events once those start populating again. Ways that you can connect with us, our calendar, and you can find links to the services that we have live streamed that live there now. So it's exciting. There should be information on your screen from your smartphone. You can text the phrase Unity Denver space app to the number 77977, and that will prompt you to download the app, and you'll see all things Unity of Denver there in one spot. So check that out if you have time. We'd love to have more people using that and giving your feedback on that. So now I just invite you to join me in affirming our credo. We say this every Sunday as we begin our service. Our God is love. Our race is human. Our faith is oneness. Our reading today comes from the book. I feel like It's the reading. This is not a dress rehearsal, I promise you. I promise you we're ready. The reading today comes from the book See No Stranger by Valerie Kaur. We are starting a book study of this book later in March, starting on March 11th. So I chose this reading, and her work has sort of inspired my talk today, so I share this with you. The call to love beyond our own flesh and blood is ancient. It echoes down to us on the lips of indigenous leaders, spiritual teachers, and social reformers through the centuries. Guru Nanak called us to see no stranger, Buddha to practice unending compassion, Abraham to open our tent to all, Jesus to love our neighbors, Mohammed to take in the orphan, and Mirabali to love without limit. They all expanded the circle of who counts as one of us, and therefore who is worthy of our care and concern. These teachings were rooted in the linguistic, cultural, and spiritual contexts of their time, but they spoke to a common vision of interconnectedness and interdependence. It is the ancient Sanskrit truth that we can look upon anyone or anything and say, Tat Van Asi, I am that. It is the African philosophy Ubuntu, I am because you are. It is the Mayan precept In La Kesh, you are my other me. What has been an ancient spiritual truth is now increasingly verified by science. We are all indivisibly part of one another. We share a common ancestry with everyone and everything alive on earth. The air we breathe contains atoms that have passed through the lungs of ancestors long dead. Our bodies are composed of the same elements created deep inside the furnaces of long dead stars. We can look upon the face of anyone or anything around us and say, as a moral declaration and a spiritual, cosmological, and biological fact, you are a part of me I do not yet know.
Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place.
Space, the presence love, divine love that lives in each one of us. No matter where we are in time and space, we know we have access to that place within us where love, divine love, resides. No matter our outer experience, we have access to that. And so I invite you to breathe into that space right now, releasing anything that may be interfering with your ability to just be right here, right now. We gently invite that. We invite ourselves to release that as we connect to this now moment and purposely and consciously connect with that divine life, that divine intelligence that is breathing us, living us, seeking to express so fully through each one of us. And it is in that space where we are renewed, where we are guided, where we are empowered to know the fullness of that truth as each one of our own truths expressing. So we breathe into that power, that presence of divine love, divine life, divine intelligence that is ours for the taking, for the living, for the expressing. And as we do that, we also bring to mind and to our hearts anyone that is on our mind and hearts, anyone who might be experiencing a challenge, anyone who might be feeling disconnected or isolated, anyone who is experiencing a health challenge, some form of disease, we hold them in this truth as well, knowing that divine love, that divine life is seeking to live fully through them as well. And each one of us has in our very essence this pattern of wholeness, of perfect health, of perfect expression. And so we see that working in and through anyone in our hearts, on our minds, and through our own lives, healing us, restoring us, literally making us anew. And for this opportunity to know this, to remember this, and to live into this, we are so grateful. And so it is. Amen.
One heart, one life, we are one family, one earth, one heart, one life, we are one family, one earth. And together we can make a difference in our world. Every creed and color, every boy and girl, all of creation, no separation. We are one heart, one heart. We are one family, one earth, one heart, one life. We are one family, one earth. And together we can make a difference in our world. Every creed and color, every boy and girl, all of creation, no separation. We are one heart. And even though it seems we are so far apart, and many times we're feeling all alone, the truth of who we are has been here from the start. We are one heart, one life. We are one family, one earth, one heart, one life. We are one family, one earth. And together we can make a difference in our world. Every creed and color, every boy and girl, all of creation, no separation. We are one heart, all of creation, no separation. We are one heart. We are one heart. We are one.
Ah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Robin. So good to have you back. As I said, my talk with you today was inspired by my reading of the book See No Stranger by Valerie Carr, a memoir and manifesto of revolutionary love. And in fact, I first learned of this through a program that Sounds True was offering that was like a 10-day call to revolutionary love, which is intriguing. So I found her work very applicable to all that is happening in our world, and just a fresh voice for this idea of seeing no stranger. That term, that idea actually comes from her. I should back up and tell you a little bit about her. Valerie she comes from the Sikh tradition, which is where that phrase comes from, and I'll explain that. She also, through her principled application of her faith, pushed through what their teaching also is of oneness that we share with them in the unity tradition, to activate this connection with people who are even at times against her, the people of her faith tradition, to stay in connection with them in terms of healing and learning. So she's a civil rights activist and lawyer, a filmmaker, an innovator, and founder of this Revolutionary Love Project. And she won a national acclaim on her work in social justice and on issues ranging from hate crimes to digital freedom. She has a mere 3 degrees from Yale, Harvard Divinity School, and then a Stanford Law degree, so she's sort of an underachiever, which is annoying. But, has a well-rounded background that makes what she has to say interesting, I think, from many perspectives. So as I said, she grew up in the Sikh tradition, and I don't know if you know much about that. This is not a lesson on that. I'm not prepared to do that, but just to let you know, the basic foundation of the Sikh tradition is attributed to the founder Guru Nanak, and founded in 1469 in the Indian region of Punjab. And the story was told that this, I don't think he was called a guru yet, but Nanak he was born a Hindu, and he was very disenchanted by the constant conflict in that region between Muslims and Hindus. And so he set off to meditate, to have a sort of a sacred pilgrimage, and sort of vanished by a river for 3 days. People kind of thought maybe he had died in the river, but he returned from the river after that 3-day experience. And his first words were, "There is no Hindu, there is no Muslim. I see no stranger, I see no enemy." And from that simple statement, Guru Nanak declared the belief that there is only one God. And then it follows that since there can only be one God, one creator of the universe, then all people and all faiths actually worship the embodiment of the divine, regardless of what name they may call it. So very similar to Unity's principle of oneness, that I will also remind us of, that is one source. There is one source, one presence, one power in the universe that has sourced all that is, one energetic force. And we are all expressions of it. All of creation is an expression of that one force. And though there are, as the reading said, many paths to that, many traditions, many gurus, many disciples that speak that language for us in our current culture and time over the hundreds and thousands of years, they're all pointing to this one sacred truth. And so one of the main tenets of unity is that we do honor all paths to God. We don't teach them all because we don't necessarily know them all in the depth that we would need to teach them, but we certainly honor them and the truths that they hold. And in that same teaching of oneness is our own interconnectedness. Yes, if we are all expressions of that one, then we have at our very essence a shared lineage. And that is it's the great foundational teaching really of our unity message. And one that, as you might recall, I think the last talk I did was shortly after Christmas, and I had this sort of aha with the simple statement that we know and we say often, that Jesus, our teacher, our way shower, came to demonstrate his spirituality through his humanity, not despite it, not having to separate from it, but actually to take what he was teaching and what he knew to be true in terms of his own oneness with Source and demonstrating that for all who would listen. But as life occurred, as he was challenged, as he was frightened, as he was saddened, he continued to apply that message, that lesson, through his what might seem like human limitations or conflicts. And so that is what we're all called to do, what he demonstrated so beautifully that we are capable of doing. And so when I think of this premise of oneness, I have begun to say, that is great. I know we all love that. I know it's part of, I think, what draws us to unity, that we feel like, yes, we don't have to be the only tradition. We don't have to negate other traditions. And we also can know that we are interconnected and that we have this innate connection with our Source. I think so many of us have known that and not often found a faith tradition that supports that teaches that, and that beholds that for us and supports us in knowing that. So what's my point, you ask? I think that's a great question right now. What I love about what I've read so far from this book is that Valerie's unique life experience, she writes about how she herself had to overcome and heal or even rage or withdraw from the world a bit in order to truly be able to see no stranger. But it was a continual goal of hers as set forth in her faith. And so she brings to this idea of considering oneness these two sweet applications, or I don't know if they're really applications, we'll call them concepts for now. Considering how we can use wonder to continue to stay connected with ourselves, with each other, and with the seeming stranger even that we pass. Well, we used to pass more on the street, but eventually we're starting to more, right? And then on up to, and I won't get to this today, but how do we do that with people that we actually consider to be our opponents? How do we stay in connection? How do we still wonder about what's going on in them and for them and what they value and what they might have lost? So this idea of wonder is applied throughout her work, and she says this about it: wonder is our birthright. It comes easily in childhood, the feeling of watching dust motes dancing in the sunlight, or climbing a tree to touch the sky, or falling asleep thinking about where the universe ends. If we are safe and nurtured enough to develop our capacity to wonder, we start to wonder about the people in our lives too. Their thoughts and experiences, their pain and joy, their wants and needs. We begin to sense that they are to themselves as vast and complex as we are to ourselves. Their inner world as infinite as our own. In other words, we are seeing them as our equal. We are gaining information about how to love them. Wonder is the wellspring of love. I love that idea, and I have actually already been applying it in my family. You know, we have been quarantined for a while. But you know, I think sometimes the people closest to us, we tend to think we know what they're up to, or what they're thinking, or why they did that, or why this conflict continues. We were having a conversation the other day, and someone in our household, the elder child, was revealing some of the things that he did when he was younger, and we were like, "What? How did you do that? When did you get out? And we all have those things. I didn't dare confess that to my mother till I was at least 40. for fear of retribution. So, I mean, that's one small example, but to recognize too that as even, I think that's a common thing that we think as parents, we know our children, our parents know us, and they still relate to us somehow as children when we're much older. But how can we don't know. The truth is we don't know. There's much of those young teenage years that they are experiencing, we are experiencing in distinguishing ourselves and moving away from our family of origin and doing God knows what, but also having experiences and making decisions about ourselves and about the world and about our spiritual relevance. All of those things are happening. So to take a step back and to wonder, just right there in your family when somebody's disagreeing, instead of going into right or wrong mode, to just take a step back and wonder, and with a gentle curiosity, what might be going on for them? What might they be needing? It takes you to a whole new vantage point to begin to reconnect and to find a solution. And where it's most powerful, I find, getting ahead of myself, is that we begin with ourselves. I hope that you've maybe taken advantage of David Howard's doing his 12 o'clock noon Lenten study, reading the daily reading from Charles Fillmore's Keep a True Lent. And a few days ago, he mentioned I should have quoted it better, I'm sorry, David, but he made mention of our shadow side in the context of what Fillmore was talking about. And I think that is part of the parts of us that we don't really want to consider, we don't even want to own, we certainly don't greet with a wonder or curiosity. It's really kind of a denial of those parts of us that we wish weren't there somehow. I got a little, information to tell you about what our shadow actually is, that we often infer that the shadow is negative, which is not always true. It's not really true at all. The shadow is rather what you yourself perceive as dark and weak and unworthy about yourself, and therefore needs to stay hidden and denied. But this depends on your own perspective on life and your levels of self-esteem. So while one person may say that their shadow might contain such classic elements as sadness, rage, laziness, or experiences of being cruel, you might also hide your personal power, your independence, your emotional sensitivity. So it is that part of us, those parts of us that for whatever reason, usually erroneously, we have disassociated with. And I think it's worth exploring, for sure, in this concept of wonder, against the backdrop of oneness, that it all belongs, that we all belong to each other, we all belong to this God, by whatever name we call it, that we are expressions of, and that all parts of us belong. Do we do things that we regret? Of course. Do we make mistakes? Of course. Do we need to pay the price for those forever? Of course not. What's better to do, I believe, is to actually face those and look at what we might be denying or hiding in ourselves. To integrate that, right? And because then what happens if we don't? What do? We're just projecting it out to others. It's going to find a way to be seen. So I love this idea of actually greeting any part of us that might seem outside of the circle of belonging with this sense of wonder. Are you actually a part of me? How did you get there? What do you need? What is the story here, right? This is the other part that we often say, anything that we resist persists. So once we face something, once we shine the light of truth, which is that it does belong, that there are all aspects of me that I can know that serve a purpose. And perhaps some of the purpose that they've been serving as defending me or hiding me or making me superior so I don't have to feel some of that needs to be addressed and healed and released so that we can fully express our authentic self, and express this sense of oneness. If you really take that in, that you and I are expressions of this divine source, this divine intelligence of life, what could possibly be outside of that? Nothing can be outside of that. Now, I know we don't always act accordingly. That's where people say, wait a minute, you can't just go around acting like a jerk saying we're all one. No, you can't. It flies in the face of the truth that we are saying. But we can know that, and we can let that oneness, that sense of connection, be our guide in those times where we do feel disconnected from each other and from Source. To know that that is something that we ourselves have created in our own consciousness. The other way that Valerie expresses this is through this concept of seeing everyone and really all of creation as a part of us that we do not yet know. You are a part of me that I do not yet know. And again, I love this vision if we again see that all of creation is expressing the fullness of its source, which we know we can visualize to be so immense that it takes the totality of the way humanity is expressing, the way creation is expressing, to express the fullness of it. And so we begin to notice ways in which we might cut ourselves off from that fullness, maybe by, we're seeing that, often now by us and them. If you don't believe like I do, you're outside of the circle. How can I look at you instead as being a part of me that I do not yet know? Because it's really, I don't know, there's lots of fun theories about how we come to be who we are, in what culture, in what, if we're a male or a female or this family or that family, what our race is, what our educational abilities or accessibilities are, all of those things. Who's to say how that even shakes out? It's all just a form of expressing this totality of this creative source in all of its forms. And so how can we stay connected with that? As I said, in and of ourselves, certainly with the people that we are close with, that we commune with more frequently. And then as we branch out, how can we see no stranger further and further and further out into people and places and spaces that aren't our own, that experience and celebrate life differently, that look differently, that are differently abled, all of those things that keep us in our little boxes, right? So knowing that the far-reaching truth that encompasses all of this human experience is that we are one in truth. And that shared among us is the divine life seeking to express as you and as me. And how can we be curious about that, wanting to express that more fully and wanting to see that, watch for that, expressing more fully in all of creation? I remind us, too, that our teaching of oneness is not saying by any means, I've already indicated that our life experience is identical. It's clearly not. The events and the seeming realities just in a few blocks can be shocking, the different experiences of life. And that unique experience matters. It matters to you and all who are directly involved in your life and in supporting you. And it matters in as much as we recognize the sacred meaning and purpose of this life that we are living and how deeply and inherently connected to mine and yours each life is. That you are a part of me that I do not yet know. How can I contemplate that more fully? How can I reach into your experience with a sense of curiosity and wonder, not from a sense of knowing, oh, I know what those people are like, or I know we won't see eye to eye, and I know it's challenging in many ways these days. And I acknowledge, as Valerie does as well, that there are places and spaces that you have to actually literally be aware of your safety. She gets to that, right? If you're really wanting to be the presence of oneness and really active in this, there are dangerous spaces for certain people. So she has other elements that she includes in how we go about staying connected, even with people who seem to be literally against our existence, which is certainly a tall order. She tells a wonderful story about, well, it's wonderful how it ends. Her grandfather is a big influence on her. Papa G, she calls him. So their family was in this country for a good 100 years by the time she was born. So many generations of American-born family members, but her heritage is from Eastern India, and she's a Sikh. And so she talks about age 6, there was a few things that happened that began to tell her that she was seen as a stranger in her community. She was a dark-skinned girl, so she had some experiences of racial slurs and stereotypes as a young child. And then as a Sikh, one of her dear childhood friends realized suddenly that she didn't believe in Jesus Christ as her personal savior and denounced her and said she was going to hell. And she was like in junior high, so devastating. She did have a faith, and she was steeped in it and practiced it. And so as these harms came to her, she would go to her Papaji, and he would always tell her stories and make her feel better. But this thing that he said to her that stuck with her, that has continued to inspire her to continue to do the work that she does, to continue to embody oneness as this philosophy of seeing no stranger and connecting with the idea that all of humanity is some part of her that she does not yet know, was her grandfather introduced her and reminded her of the splendid connection that wonder offers. So he said, those who seek to harm you, who do not love you, have forgotten to wonder about you. But don't let that stop you from wondering about them. And that she reviews that over and over as she has moved through some of the difficulties and pain that she has experienced, still committed to living oneness, to seeing the connectedness of humanity and recognizing that we are all inherently connected. I wonder for you, I know this is live and all of that, but I ask you to consider, how we have this philosophy, we know this to be true, but how does that show up in your life? How do you experience this oneness with your Creator, with Source, with divine life? How does that come through your life, and how do you show up as the presence of that? I don't know, if you're up for a chat, you can put it in chat. Have you been the presence of that? Have you experienced someone else touching you in that way, where you don't have any necessarily ties, you're not related, but that someone has extended an expression of connection, of interconnection with you, or how have you done that for others? And, it's easy to do, well, it's not always easy, but it's easy to start with the people that are close and familiar to us, of course. And even that, given the particular day and the particular stress level of the household, can be challenging. But how are we really living that more fully out into the world, beyond just the world that we inhabit, wandering further and further out and bringing more people, more experiences into our circle of belonging? That's just a question for you. I'd like to see how it is actually showing up in your life. And so as you move forward this week, I just invite you to consider how you are still discovering parts of yourself previously unknown, or that you now know differently. Any parts of yourself that you may need to revisit to, again, incorporate into the circle of belonging, to know that this is too a part of you that maybe you do not yet know. Discovering what wisdom it holds for you. Remembering, as I have been reminded, that parts of us that are in conflict with ourselves, parts of us that we hold somehow hostage, somehow separate from the light of consider joining us Thursday night starting March 11th at 6:30. And for now, I guess I would invite us to just take a time, I've been talking, just take a time to reflect on some of these concepts that I have put forth to you. Just taking a deep breath, feeling your feet on the ground unless you're in bed. Feel yourself supported. And just relax, release again into this moment, and let anything that I may have said that struck you come to your mind. As we consider the fullness of this all-encompassing foundational teaching of oneness, that we are one with all of creation. That we are interconnected deeply and profoundly. And in that awareness, we just consider what we may need to let go of in order to more fully embrace that idea. To begin to see no stranger as we move about in the world, recognizing that there are many, many millions and billions of lives expressing this one divine life. How can I see that as a stranger? How can I be seen as a stranger in the context of that truth? And so with love and with compassion, we just release anything that comes up that wants to hold on to some sense of separation, some sense of superiority or perhaps inferiority. We let that go. And we make room then to grow in our own acceptance of all that we are. Our inclusion of all parts of us. Extend that to those in our families, our friends, our community, that though we may have differences, we see that common thread. And we seek to express that more fully, to explore that more fully, and to be an expression of that more fully. You may even bring to mind someone who you have recently maybe had a difficulty with in your own community, in your own family, whatever. And just contemplate that idea that you are a part of me that I do not yet know. And I can stay connected with that by continuing to be curious about your experience, about your fears, your joys, your challenges, your triumphs. And as we do that, we also open ourselves up to be known more fully, to step out of any shadow of feeling like a stranger. To know that our life, our loves, our losses matter to us all. And so we courageously move forward in this day, connected more fully to all aspects of ourself, welcoming those parts of us, and seeing the complexity of all those before us, witnessing that, beholding that. And for this opportunity to start wherever we are in this process of knowing and claiming our oneness with Source and with each other, we give thanks. And so it is.
Loving Spirit dwells in me. This is my divinity. As within, so without. All I need is here and now. Where there's air, let me love. May I have no fear. All the power, all the glory, I surrender. Let it be. Loving Spirit dwells in me now and evermore.
Amen. Thank you, Robin. Now is the time in our service where we invite you to give to support this ministry. We thank you all so much for the many of you who have continued to do that on a regular basis. Those of you who may be doing it for the first time today, we thank you very much for your continued financial support of this ministry. There should be, ways in which you can give on your screen. You can do that electronically by doing whatever it says there. I'm sure you can follow that beautiful direction. You can certainly, as many of you still do, send your checks as well. We thank you for that. And so together we bless these offerings with our love offering blessing. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am thankful.
Today I saw the sun, I stood out in the rain and watched the eagle fly again. I heard a baby cry and walked right through the storm and felt the wind upon my face. And all the while I could not am, and I'm hopeful, and I'm so full, and I'm thankful. I am. I hugged an old oak tree, the earth beneath my feet, and saw a shooting star above. I looked into your eyes and touched an open heart and fell into a whole lot of love. And all the while I could not help but see the life that lives and breathes in you and me. And I'm peaceful, yes, and I'm grateful, and I'm thankful, oh Lord. Yes, I am, and I'm hopeful, and I'm so full, and I'm thankful, oh, I am. All the while I could not help but see all the life that lives and breathes in you and me. And I'm peaceful, yes, and I'm grateful, and I'm thankful, oh Lord. Yes, I am, and I'm hopeful, and I'm so full, and I'm thankful, oh, oh, I am so peaceful, yes, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, oh, I'm hopeful, and I'm so full, and I'm thankful, oh, oh, I am. Yes, I'm thankful, oh, oh, I am. And I'm thankful, oh, I am. I am so grateful, so peaceful. Yes, I am. I am. Oh, I am. I am. I am. Oh, I am. I am. I am.
Yay! Me too. I'm so grateful. I love those boots. I've just been taking those in. Oh, great. Thank you so much. You know, music, man, nothing like getting out of your head into your heart. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Martha. Let's see. A few quick announcements. See if we can line these up. Starting in about 5 minutes, our youth ministry director, Natalie Simmons, will be live on Facebook, 11 a.m. for a ministry lesson with the children, so join her there. And as I mentioned, David Howard continues his daily readings at noon of Keep a True Lent. He does that Monday through Saturday, so tune in for that, for a daily inspiration. Also coming up this week, this Wednesday, is our contemplative service, Wednesday, March 2nd at 7 p.m., and that will also be via Facebook Live, YouTube, as well. And David Howard featuring Robin Hackett will be back on Wednesday evening, so join us for that. As I've mentioned too, the virtual book study of See No Stranger begins Thursday, March 11th at 6:30 p.m. You can register for that on our website or our app, hint, hint. So yeah, you can check on any of those things at our website or on our app. They are all listed as well. Just a reminder too, I don't have a slide for it, but we are doing fellowship today at 11:30 on Zoom. If you want to stop by and just check in with some of the people we used to have coffee with and tea, it's a great time to just check in at 11:30 on Zoom. I think that's everything. I will update you just ever so briefly that the council team and staff are working diligently to consider all the working pieces to be able to welcome you back into the building. It is still our goal to be able to do that for Easter Sunday, and we will keep you updated on our progress with that. So thank you so much for spending your morning with us. We close now with our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is. Amen. And now Miss Robin will sing us out with something. P. Let's hear it.
Let there be love on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be love on earth, the love that was meant to be, with God as creator. Family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let love begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in love eternally. Let there be love on earth, and let